Today, our guest is Sensei Dave Manara. Sensei Dave, how many years have you been involved with the martial arts?
Going on 59 years in April.
And what is your martial arts background?
Well, I originally, when I got involved in karate, the only karate in Toronto at the time was the Chito under Master Roka. If you're familiar with that name, that stayed around. That was Chito was a style that was founded by Dr. Chitosi. It was basically a copy of Shotokan. And then as we progressed, I met other instructors such as Sensei Shintani and Keisumura and so on. But Sensei Shintani became my primary instructor at a very young age.
Did you study any other styles?
Yeah, I studied like the Chitoru, like I said. I studied Shitoru and of course Wado and Kabuto, which is the weaponry, and then Shindo, and I also took Kendo for a while.
How did you get started in the martial arts?
Uh, Good question. Big brother. My big brother started taking karate with a couple of his friends, and my brother would come down. I was 12 years old. He was 17. And he would come home and say, "Do you want to see what I learned tonight?" And I said, "What's that?" He'd punch me out. And after a while, I said, "Nuts to this. I'm going to go down and check this karate out." So I watched, and I thought, this is really neat. Not because of the fighting, but I was playing a lot of hockey then as a kid and other organized sports, but primarily hockey. And of course, if you were lucky, you got on a winning team. If you were unlucky, you got on the last place team. And as I was watching, again, I was 12 years old. I was thinking to myself, this is, you can really succeed or fail based on what you put into this, and on your own. Yeah, you're working with other people, but you're the number one. You gotta really work hard yourself if you're going to succeed in that. So I kind of did, and then I grew bigger than my big brother, became my little brother in size, and I didn't have any other issues. So I thought this is pretty good.
Restitution.
What are your personal accomplishments related to martial arts?
Well, in terms of teaching, would probably be my big one. I was very fortunate. I started my first school when I was 16 years old, when I got my black belt. I opened up a dojo at the University of Toronto at the Erindale campus. It was a new campus at the time, had a beautiful athletic center, and they actually asked me. I got known in the area. I lived in the west end of Toronto, so this was Mississauga campus, and they saw me like in the newspapers and stuff like that, winning tournaments, and so that's how I got the opportunity. So and then my clubs basically grew from there, and it's all which I'm very happy. It's all organic growth. It's all my clubs have been students who've studied with me over the years and have stuck out and opened their own dojos. So it's not been, people coming in from other organizations or anything like that.
Okay.
What was your first encounter with Sensei Shintani?
Well, again, I was 12 years old. I didn't drive. One of my club mates at the time, Wally Rudnicki, he was 17 and he had a car. He was probably the only other guy, young guy that had a car. And he said, "I want to take you to this tournament." And I can't recall whether it was Grimsby or Beamsville, but Sensei was very, very well known. I'll call it Fruitland. I don't know what they call it today, but there was a lot of pear farms and peach farms and stuff, and of course vineyards. And I was at the tournament, and since like Sensei Shinte, I didn't know him at that time, but he came right up to me and shook my hand and welcomed me to the tournament. I thought, wow, this was really something. Here is the one of the top martial artists, and he's coming over to see me, a 12-year-old kid. That's what he was like. I just couldn't believe it. So he left a real mark on me that way.
Well, the next question is, what was your impression of Hanshi Shintani?
Well, at first it was just the humility, but after that, it was really the kindness. After that first tournament, Sensei took Wally and I. He knew we had driven from Toronto, and certainly he knew we didn't have much money. He took us out for Chinese food. I thought, well, this is neat. Not only do I get to participate in a tournament, but I get taken to, out for Chinese food. And then he stuck his hand in his pocket and he pulled out some money and he said, "Here, I can't remember the amount, but it was enough that we could fill our gas tank to get back to Toronto." Very kind, very generous. And I couldn't believe it. I was lucky if I had money to pay my entrance fee, which was only a couple of dollars. So the generosity, the kindness of spirit, I mean, it was just so obvious.
What was your favorite memory of Sensei Shintani?
Well, we trained a lot together in Hamilton because it was about halfway for him to drive and me to drive. And do you remember the old Japanese culture center?
Yes, I
I think it
do.
was it
Ontiori.
Upper Fennell in Wellington or something.
Yep. Yep.
We used to work out there together a lot of Sunday afternoons for several years, and we had a lot of closeness, a lot of personal discussions as well as our training together.
How did Sensei Shintani make you feel?
He always made his goal. I always felt he didn't say it, but he just made me feel good about myself. Like I didn't leave drained in any way, shape, or form. No matter how hard we worked out, I just left there so mentally refreshed and thinking, this is just wonderful. He always very positive, always very encouraging. Even when he was making a correction, it was always very positive. He never ever said any, "Hey, you're doing that wrong." He would always say, "Just move it over a little bit, and you'll be fine." And you guys must have experienced that as well with
Yeah.
his teaching methods. He basically encouraged me as a teacher, and he would always give me tips on teaching myself. And one of the biggest ones, and I at first I took it as a criticism, but I don't think he meant it. He said to me, "Dave, you're teaching too much." He said, "Be selfish, let your students," other black belts, of course, we were quite advanced at the time, "let your students do more teaching and you'll be better refreshed, and watch them teach. Watch how they're teaching and then give them pointers in a positive way after the class, how to improve their teaching." And that's what I always tried to do. And that's where I really grew up under that tutelage.
It's comments like that, and this is why we do these videos, because that's incredible advice for instructors because they feel that once they start a club that they have to do everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you said that because there's going to be a lot of people watching that and black belts that are teaching. I hope you take that advice as well.
Mm-hmm.
What struck you most about Hanshi Shintani?
Well, the on the personal part, when I'd like to think that we were very, very good friends. He spoke a lot of his mother, and I think I mentioned that in my written responses to you. But he always told me he got his strength from his mother. He obviously didn't have a very good relationship with his father, who died when he was a very young age, and he talked about life in the internment camp to me and how his mother got ill and with the children. And also, I didn't know it, but something really neat happened to me years and years and years later. A guy, you probably have heard the name Frank Atashida in judo.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Frank is now deceased as well, but I had a banquet, and Frank Atashida and I became very good friends at a young age because I would buy supplies from him. That was the relationship. And he would teach me a lot about Japanese philosophy. And then when I had the banquet, Frank and his daughter Leah heard about it, and they asked me if they could come. And I said, "Sure." Now I didn't know it, but when Sensei Shintani came into the room, Sensei Shintani and Sensei Tashida hugged each other and had tears flowing down their face. I didn't know what was going on. And I found out that they were interned in the same camp together in BC. And then Sensei Shintani told me that him and his brother used to wait around the corner and they used to jump Frank, Sensei Tashida, and Sensei Tashida would throw them both to the ground. Apparently, Sensei Tashida's uncle taught all the kids judo in the internment camp, including Sensei Shintani. And I had known both of them for about 40 years at that time. I did not know that history.
Wow.
And that was just such a wonderful moment to see them.
Wow. Is Roman attached to Frank's son?
No, his nephew.
His nephew, okay.
John is his father.
Okay.
And now I don't know whether John's still alive, but John was Frank's brother, but John got into karate as well. And when Frank passed away, he had asked me if I wanted to, or before he passed away, he asked me if I wanted to take over the business, and I said no. You know, he had all his supplies came from Japan, and you really had to be able to speak Japanese and spend a lot of time on it. So Leah, his daughter, did it for a while. Then she left for New York, and then it went to Roman.
Okay. Where are we here, Sensei Neil?
I think we are on number 11, sir.
Number 11. What inspired you most about Sensei Shintani's character?
Well, the humility, number one, and then I got to see, like, well, he was so sincere and so dedicated. He enjoyed bringing people together of different organizations. He I got to be careful how I say this because I don't want to be offensive, but there was so much political animosity going on. If you think what's going on in the states between Republicans and Democrats is bad, you ought to have been around in the 70s and 80s, headquartered in Toronto, because that's where a lot of headquarters for the senior karate guys were, and it was just cutthroat, and Sensei Shintani didn't want any part of that, and he did the opposite. He welcomed everybody, even people who criticized him. And no, he was just very, very open, very kind, very forgiving, and just wanted people to, practice the martial art properly. Mm-hmm. And he didn't care what style you did. He just wanted to see you practice it with heart and sincerity.
Right. Was there a moment that made you say wow or aha, kind of like a paradigm moment with Sensei Shintani?
Well, I guess the wow moment was just so many. Right from being 12 years old and having the top guy come over and welcome you, and then give you money for gas and pay for you to have Chinese food. Like, I thought, this is great. Never mind, wow, this is great. Yeah. And he just carried on. I could say, just being with him, and when he came to my club and taught my students, gave clinics. I'm going to ask Larry was probably at quite a few of them as well over the years. He was just, again, so inviting to all the students to learn, and they just, ate it up. They just loved them. Mm-hmm. So a lot of wow moments. I'm sorry, I can't say that this is. I mean, it started right from day one that I met him.
Right.
Is there a favorite technique that Sensei Shintani showed you? Perhaps something that you taught or still teach today?
Well, he taught a lot of Tai Sabaki, a lot of the evasive type of techniques, and he got a lot of that from Sensei Otsuka, who he studied a lot from his father, who taught him basically the evasive techniques from the samurai sword. If you're attacked with a samurai sword, how to sidestep and be able to evade the blade, and then that translated into evading hand techniques, foot techniques, and so on.
What's the one thing that you think that Sensei Shintani should be remembered for?
Well, a lot of things, but I think the big thing was inviting everybody wanting everybody to train properly and just leave all this political nonsense and my group's better than your group or my style's better than your style. He didn't care what group you belonged to. If you wanted to work out, he'd take you on.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to say to the students that never had the opportunity to meet Sensei Shintani?
Well, I think the second best thing is to meet some of his lifelong students, people like myself, yourselves, and listen to, what really happened. What was he really like? And if we can be, as good or even close to as good as he was, then basically we are his representative.
At this point, is there anything else that you would like to say about Sensei Shintani? Something that you want to share with us that we haven't touched?
Well, he on his family. When I told you earlier that he talked a lot about his mother's father, so Sensei's grandfather, was one of the last living samurai. And I'm going to see if I can get the camera to actually show you. I have the original 1898 black and white photograph of Sensei's father. And when he gave that to me, Sensei's grandfather, when he gave that to me, I was just so thrilled. I have it right beside me, Larry, if you want to see. This is something that I truly value. Can you lift it up? Mm-hmm. Are you guys okay with this? Yeah. This is Sensei's grandfather in full samurai dress. Can you make that out?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
So this is 1898 Matsumoto clan, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And when he gave that to me, I just couldn't believe it, because that was his prized possession. That's where he got his strength. He always said, I got my strength from my mother, and because she was samurai lineage. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with you.
That's amazing. There are a number of copies of that. That's great that you have the original, and I'm sure you know that Michael Soki also penciled that picture. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I actually have one.
Okay.
You want to do that again? Yeah. I don't know if you've seen this one. This one is Michael's pencil drawing of Sensei Shintani.
Yes.
Yeah, you've seen that one, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of us had that copy. Wow. So yeah, if we can pass on. I mean, we are Sensei's representatives, and we should always pay him the respect that he deserves, nothing less.
Do you have any other closing comments, Sensei?
Yeah, I'd just like to encourage everybody to participate in martial arts. It doesn't matter whether you're practicing karate, shindo, judo, iaido, kendo. It doesn't matter. They all have the same purpose to me. They're to make you a better person. And people should not, in my opinion, they should not dedicate their life to the martial arts. They should make sure that they lead a balance and use their martial arts training to give them strength to go out and solve the problems of the world, or be good family people, be good community leaders, whatever. So it should be the backbone, but it shouldn't totally consume you that you cannot go out and do the other things in the community.
Very good.
Excellent words. Thank you very, very much.
One thing I would like to say, Sensei, is I know from firsthand experience the respect that Sensei Shintani had for you.
No, thank you.
That was he talked about you with the highest regards. He had nothing but respect for you.
Thank you.
Well,
so hopefully we'll talk again later on, eh?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very, very much for your time. I think we will call.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate it.